Hey, so you guys know I sold my business of 35 years. We didn't have any kids wanting to come into it. They're doing their own gigs, which I'm very happy for them because what they're doing is very cool, and that's what they're called to do. I always feel sorry for some of the guys and gals I coach who have been forced to take over a family business that they really didn't want to take over. And it doesn't go well. It doesn't make for good Thanksgiving dinners, and it doesn't do much for their success when they're doing something they really weren't called to do. So sometimes you're just better off to sell that family business instead of pressuring children or grandchildren to go into it when they don't want to. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? I don't understand that concept. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about today, retirement. And if you're young, hey, hang in there because you're going to retire one day. And there's some key things you'll need to know that I'm going to talk about today to prepare for that. Because I have found out that even those people who sell a business for millions of dollars, 50 to 70% of those go broke after a few years. And I can't get my head around that, but they do because they weren't used to handling that much money to begin with. And they think, hey, I got this. This is a lot of money. And they start buying things, shiny objects, homes. And not only that, but they get risky, more riskier, and sell or invest rather in things they don't know about. And they lose a lot of money in investments. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to new heights, and ultimately follow your dreams. So today we're going to be discussing reclaiming your edge after you leave the game. But I want to talk first a little bit about, because I came up with another podcast while I was putting this stuff together. And the next podcast I'm doing, it could be a few weeks because I'm a couple ahead right now for you guys, but why 80% of business owners can't sell their company. Oh my gosh. That's powerful. That's something you would want to know no matter how long you've been in business. That's not today. It's coming up, but I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to talk about it. Did you know that 60% of people define retirement as ending work? That blows my mind. 66% say they'll focus on improving their health. Less than 30% do. I mean, if you're not doing it now, what makes you think you're going to improve your health after you quit working? 55% say they calculate how much they'll need, and 22% say they're going to run out of funds before it's over. Just things to think about, because I don't want you guys to be in that situation. I surely don't want to be in that situation. So retirement hits harder than people think. Even when it's planned, even when it's prayed through, even when it's a financially secure deal. So you sell your company, let's say the average age, by the way, today of retirement is 62 years old. So you're 62 years old, which is actually what I am, and I retired from McAfee at this age. I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because it was perfect timing for me. And you're 62 years old and you retire and you think you've got all this laid out. But here's what I have found, because I went through it. Here's what I'm calling it. The podcast is called Reclaiming Your Edge After You Leave the Game. But here's what I went through, and here's what I call this rather. I call it the moping period post-retirement. Now, I had no idea I would go through a moping period. I was excited to step down. I was excited I found a group to take over who at the time told me they were going to keep a lot of the things we did, but that's another story. I was excited that they were going to keep my employees, which they've done that so far. I was excited that the value I had created was noticed and passed on to me at the time of sale. And I don't say this in a bragging way. I say this to say this is possible. I can teach you how to do it if you're interested. And that is getting one of the highest multiples for one of the highest EBITDAs in the market today, in the home improvement market today. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, everything that falls under home improvement, home services, I should say. And I got that. So it was perfect timing. I have no regrets. I would not do anything different. But I had a 90-day hard stop. And if we were just to be transparent here, originally they wanted me to stay a year. There was a few things that didn't go my way during the due diligence part. I am so a stickler on keeping dates and times, and a couple of those things didn't happen, and I expressed my opinion. Imagine that. And, well, they didn't quite like that, so they reduced my time period of staying a year down to 6 months, and by the time it was all over, I negotiated 90 days, and I was out of there. But guess what happened? That's a hard stop, folks. After doing something for 35 years, and especially the last 10 years of doing the same thing for the last 10 years. I mean, down to what time I go in there and meetings we have on certain days and coaching and coaching my sales team, and my sales team still reported to me every day, and we met often, probably 4 to 5 days a week, going over issues, concerns, practicing, role-playing, development, getting up close to 80+% closing ratio. And, you know, it's hard to beat. The only way a company can beat that is to do more volume than I created. And that is what I'm hoping they do, because I've said this often, and I said it at my last company meeting. If McAfee Heating and Air doubles in size in the next 5 years, I did my job. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. That's the sign of a good leader. When a company continues to grow, after that leader is gone, then the leader did his job. That's John Maxwell over and over again. He teaches that. I've learned it. I've read it. I've studied it. All those types of things, because I'm all about leadership. So this episode is for the soon to retire, the already retired, and the one-day crowd who will need to prepare for retirement. Okay? And I'm going to keep it going pretty fast here. Please, any questions, type it right in there. And hit that like button for me, please. Really boosts our algorithms. I want to mention the shocking truth that 90% of people I've talked with also hit that post-moping period. I've now interviewed, talked with, met with for breakfast, coffee, retirees, some who have sold their business for multi-millions, hundreds of millions. They all went through the moping period. Some span was shorter than others. Some was 6 months. I am over mine, but I went through a moping period that I did not expect, because I don't get down. When I do get down, it's for a day or two, and I'm right back at it and moving on. Let's push forward, get over it, and move on. That's my philosophy, and that's what I tell myself. It's hard for me to tell other people that because they don't get over things like I do. But so I retire. We go to Florida, to our Florida home, which we've had for over 10 years. And I took a dark cloud with me, and I didn't expect it. It went right through security. And I didn't know it was following me, but it was there. And when I got to Florida, it was there. And I'm like, I'm so dissatisfied, and I can't put my finger on why. Why am I dissatisfied? I'm in Florida. It's nice. And, well, multiple things happened. I had another surgery, that screw broke. I tore my shoulder. All these things happened physically, which didn't help me at all. Walking away from a company, packing all my stuff, leaving my office that I custom built for me, with a desk that was just unreal. It was a very expensive desk. It was so cool. I almost took it with me, but it wasn't mine anymore. They bought everything, almost everything. So they didn't buy my building, though, which, by the way, I'm just received a phone call from my realtor. I listed my building less than a month ago, and we got an offer today, a cash offer. I'm so excited. Yeah, and it's not like I'm already wired. I'm wired. But I'm so excited. I hope it goes through, because everybody knows sales. I mean, anything can happen. But so far, so good. I'm excited. Okay, so 90% of people deal with this. Some are mild, some serious, and almost nobody talks about it ahead of time. Nobody talks about this. How bad? Well, people ages 75 and older have the highest suicide rate among all other age groups, largely driven by males. How bad is it? I don't know, but it can be pretty bad if you don't get some help, if you don't talk about it with people. The way I function is I had to read. I bought books on transitioning into retirement, out of retirement, because I already built, by the way, I built this company I'm sitting in. You can pull it up, platinumrvstorage.com, or for short, prvstorage.com, and you can look at it. It's cool. It's a company I built before I sold McAfee. I knew I had to have a place to go. I knew I had to have something to do. I was not ready to stop, and I can guarantee you one thing. Miss Naomi, my wife, did not want me to stop and stay home. I guarantee you that. So I already had that planned. So you would think he got a lot out of his company. He's got things set up. He's 100% debt-free. And why aren't you happy? I don't know. It was the moping period, the dark cloud. It kept following me. So you just need to know that it's going to happen. And informed people make better decisions. If you know it's going to happen, you can prepare for it better. And here's what a couple people said, because I'm a Christian. You guys know that if you watch my show. I've been a Christian for 37 years almost, continuing to learn about Jesus, about the Bible, all those things. I don't have it down yet, but I love teaching it, and I love teaching men, have a lot of men's groups going on, all those types of things. So somebody said, well, you've lost your identity at McAfee. And then somebody said, well, your identity should be in Jesus. I love that, because they're 100% right. But Jesus also made us human. We have emotions. It doesn't, it's not that easy. That's the church thing to say. Your identity should be in Jesus. Absolutely. Amen. I totally agree. But I also know I'm human. So I thought my identity was fully in Jesus, and spiritually, yes. But when we've lived a mission for decades, there's a human side that gets disrupted. So here's a couple points we're going to go through. Point one, the shock is normal. Just expect it. Explain that retirement is more than just financial. I'm explaining that to you. It's a loss of structure. It's a loss of mission. It's a loss of people. I come in here to Platinum, and Travis works with me. He's still working on his PhD. He's here. He does a lot of stuff here for Platinum. Shows units, does all that stuff, takes care of the software issues, all that stuff. But I'm used to many people in an office. I'm used to things happening. I'm used to hearing people. I'm used to all that stuff. So I've got a loss of people. I've got a loss of daily wins, so I've had to make new wins. I've had to set big goals to make new wins here. And I have. If you can't tell, I've snapped out of that moping period, but I was in it for about 3 months. 3 months. Because we closed in June, end of June. My moping period kicked in somewhere at the end of July. So we had July, August, or let's just say August, September, October, November. So a little over 3 months. I was in the moping period, and it sucked. I'd wake up with that dark cloud, and I didn't know why. I wasn't even thinking about it. So, and being needed, I wasn't needed as much during that moping period, and it messes with my head. Plus, being on painkillers and having the surgeries, I can make a million excuses, but as you know, I don't do excuses too well. Good news, if this is happening to you or will happen to you, just know it's normal. And know this, growth hurts, but staying the same costs more, even in retirement. Now, I use the word refire. There's a book I'm going to put up here about refiring in life. Read the book. I've read it. I read it years ago, probably 5 years ago. It's a good book. I don't want to retire. I want to refire. That's why I built Platinum RV Storage. It's my refirement. But I did retire from McAfee. I stepped down. I'm no longer the president or the CEO. I'm the founder. And I have no say. I have 0% say in anything they do. I think that's much better than having a 5% say because you'd always lose. I mean, the way I think, I know I'd lose. Number 2, reclaim your identity. Don't replace it. You see, phase 2, which is phase 2 of my life, is discovering a new version of me. And you've got to do the same thing. It's rediscovering who you were before that title of president or CEO, before that workload that you had, that grind that I loved for multiple years and did some really cool stuff, built one of the best brands in our market. If you've ever heard of Esther Price Candy, it's national. If you've ever heard, it's out of Dayton, Ohio. If you've ever heard of Mike Sell potato chips, you may have not. Dayton, Ohio. We are in that, when I ran that place, we were in that top 5 of Dayton, Ohio brands. And we're just a heating and air company started by a guy with no college, barely graduated high school. So think about that. You're not losing yourself. You're uncovering the parts that got buried by 30 years of building. 35 for me. The faith tie-in, you see, God doesn't stop using you just because you change or lose your title. He's still using you. I have been able to help a handful of people through this moping period, learning from it. I learned from everything. Like I said, the way I help myself is I talk to a lot of people that's been there and done it. I read lots of books on it, and that kind of, it works its way out. And then I try to think positive every day. I wake up every morning, thank you, God, for another day. Thank you, God, for this day. And I prayed every day, God, help me get out of this moping period. I don't want to be down. Excuse me. All right. Point number 3, purpose is the antidote. By starting Platinum RV Storage, it became my new mission. You've got to start your own thing. If you're getting ready to retire and you think you're just going to quit, you're going to be extremely disappointed. And I've learned this, your moping period will be a lot longer than mine. I'm not putting a number on it, but it will be a lot longer than 3 months or so. So my new mission, it was a challenge. I get to think creatively again. And I'm building something from the beginning, which I love to do, and that's what I'm good at. I told him when they bought McAfee, I said, I already know. My cap was this number. I could have killed myself, had another heart attack, and done another million, but why? I was done. I checked out. I was done. And I wanted to pass that baton on and say, go. And then I was going a different direction. But I will say this, as a Christian, I pray for that company every day. I pray for McAfee Heating and Air and Plumbing every single day, and I hope they kill it. I pray for my previous employees. I pray for the customers who also got used to, a way that was like no other way. And I know there's better ways than what I had, but from a small town, I just took care of people better than everyone else and gave them what they needed more than anyone else. I'll just leave it at that. But I pray for them, and I pray the company prospers. I really do. I pray that people can make more money than they made with me, and I just pray for the entire group. You go. No hard feelings here. So I want to encourage you to find something with weight, not just a hobby. Hobbies are fine. You need hobbies, but that's not going to carry you on for the next 10, 20, 30 years or more. Busy is not the same as purposeful. You can be busy doing a lot of things, but it's just not the same as being purposeful. An example of purpose options would be mentoring, forming groups, teaching classes, volunteering, consulting, having a foundation and giving more to whatever your calling is, starting something smaller, like I did here, getting really involved in your church if you go to church. If you don't, I challenge you to go to church, and transforming your health. Like I said, a certain percentage of people said that they would improve their health, but very few did. So, my question is, if your goal doesn't scare you, this is not a question. My quote here is, if your goal doesn't scare you a little bit, it's too small, even in retirement. So, I want you to think about this, the last point. Point 4, prepare now, not later. I started preparing. I said I read the book Refiring 5 years ago. I started preparing for this years ago. I don't know. I am not the smartest or brightest bulb in the room here. A lot of you guys are much smarter than me, but I have to prepare. And then God kind of takes it and does his thing, but I had to prepare. What am I going to be doing the next 5 years? And if you do sell this company, what are you going to do? So at the end of 1922, at the end of 2022, I read too much about Rockefeller, and I was just reading today what he did in 1911. But anyway, I had to prepare. I bought this property in 2022. I sat on it for a year. It was farm property. I farmed hay on it, and then we broke ground, and it was finished in December of 2023. We had a lot of more work to do personally on it, and we really opened up for business 7 weeks ago, and we've got quite a few units taken, leased. It's exciting, and that really helped me too. I decided I had to make some chips fly fast and get back in the groove, and that's what we did. So here's a message for younger listeners and early planners. Start building your phase 2 identity before you leave phase 1. Man, that's the key right there. And you don't have to tell everybody about it. Nobody in my company, except for 2 people, knew that I was considering selling. And they were key people who could keep their mouth shut. And I also did a few other things to help with that. But anyway, questions that will help you plan early. Are you ready? What will give you your day's purpose? So all these future days, what's going to give you purpose? Who will you spend time with the most? What challenge will keep you sharp? because the minute you stop, your brain stops. My brain's not stopping. I'm making things happen. I'm reading more. I'm doing things. I'm watching more podcasts. I'm so into crypto. I can't wait for it to soar. We're really close for that happening. If you don't own any, I just challenge you to own some. I'm not telling you what to buy or anything like that, but it is the way of the future. If I could come to you today during the first couple years of Apple, Google, and Amazon, and I could say this is going to be the biggest thing you ever do, would you buy some stock? Yes. Buy some coins in crypto. It will pay off big. And right now, everything's down. Buy now. All right. Well, as of today, it's down. And today is December 1st. It's Monday. Okay. So what will keep you physically and mentally strong? All right. A lot of people crash because they never picture life on the other side. And you've got to look ahead. It is critical. You've got to look ahead. You've got to plan ahead. Just receiving millions of dollars for a business does not mean you're happy, set for life, and all those things, especially when a lot of people blow it all in different ways, and then they're hurting again. I mean, hurting more than normal. They don't have any income from that company. And there's a lot of people that rely on a lot of that income coming in all the time from that company, and they take it out. It's no longer here. Once you spend that amount you received for that business, it's gone. And I don't think Social Security, you don't have a pension. Think about this, folks. It's critical to the next 20, 30 years of your life. Retirement without a plan becomes a regret. And that is for sure. So, hey, hope you enjoyed this today. I hope it helps you. I definitely wish I would have heard it, a couple years ago. It would have helped me more than today. And but I like everything, I always have to learn the hard way. So, tell a friend about it. Press that like button right there. Hit that like button. Boom. Click on it, whatever you do. And leave a comment in the lines there. I love comments. I love questions. Feel free to do so. People that ask the most questions always tend to be the most successful in life. As always, carry on. God bless. Make this day the best day of your life, because we're not promised tomorrow. I'll see you next time.